I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, yeah.
Ah,
And yeah, I'm kind of I'm rather interested in doing this actually. It's
oh, I've been wanting to talk about Todd Slaughter with someone who knows even more because I know him kind of, but I don't know the history.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you that there is another guy that knows considerably more than me.
Yeah,
A guy by the name of Kip Zool. Don't
yeah,
know if you've
yeah,
heard of him. You heard of him?
yes.
Yeah. Um, he was someone I contacted at one point when I think I mentioned to you at one point I was thinking of doing a documentary on Todd.
Yes.
And I reached out to Kip, and we became friends. And actually, we've sort of, he's been over here a few times, and
Okay.
we sort of partied into the wee small hours,
Oh, yeah.
and he's a good guy. And we've seen him in Wales as well because he lives in Wales.
Okay.
But yet, hey, tell me about how you discovered Todd Slaughter first, because I like hearing other
So,
people's
yeah.
discovery tales.
So whenever I was in high school, I started getting into this band called Snow White's Poison Bite. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of them.
Right.
It's like this emo horrorcore band. And anyway, they were having this lyric video, and in the lyric video, they would have the lyrics playing in the background. There'd be a bunch of old horror movies. So I got interested in them. I'm like, I kind of interested to watch those movies. So I just went on some like ranker.com or something and just went down the list of all the horror movies. Eventually, I started to go off the list, off beat, and
Yeah.
found some more offbeat kind of horror films. That's when I came across The Face at the Window,
Oh
and
yeah.
it was like a kind of a werewolf movie with this villain in it, and I was immediately like, wow, this man is unlike any other. He's very bombastic, just in your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
m now I know
That's
that's called melodrama.
yeah. Well, it says it right at the beginning. It has this
Yeah,
like long scroll saying exactly what it is, and
yeah,
it actually invites you to chuckle with it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's quite knowing, which is good. Um, I think that's the really good entry point is the face at the window
yeah. That's
because
still my
it's one
favorite.
of his very best films.
Yes.
I mean, if you've seen, I don't know, have you seen all of his films?
I think I've seen most of them, but I haven't seen maybe some things he was in that he wasn't the main character and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. There's a couple of films where he plays supporting parts in the 30s, and then in the 50s, when his style was kind of out of vogue, he was doing like bit parts in TV series in the mid 50s. We're talking,
Yeah.
and there was also a series called Inspector Morley, which you can see episodes of on YouTube now, but for so long it was incredibly obscure.
Really?
Um, and these were like meant to be 20 minutes. This was like a 20-minute, 25-minute TV series that was meant for the BBC,
Yeah.
but the BBC turned it down. They said it wasn't good enough quality.
So
So
basically, they just had it in some vault forever till we finally came across
it,
it.
it, it did the rounds. I mean, it was like the company that produced it folded, and but there were prints kind of floating around, and people would sort of, there were some fanatics that would collect them. There was a guy in
Okay.
France, Jean Michel, who was for a very very long time supposedly writing a biography about Todd Slaughter,
Oh,
and
really?
this was going on since about 1965. So I'm talking about a
Wow.
long time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, okay, I'll tell you how I came across
Yeah, go ahead.
Todd. Um, our, my dad was born in 1926.
Okay.
So when he was a kid, this was the mid 1930s. So when he was going to the cinema, he was seeing all the movies that were being sort of brought out, and Todd Slaughter was one of those stars.
Yeah.
Because Todd was British, and so they kind of would emphasize those movies a bit more. And I think my dad kind of probably went to sort of what you might call flea pit cinemas in
Okay.
um,
Well,
in,
what is
in
that? A
Glasgow.
flea pit cinema?
Well, kind of not a high grade cinema, not
Like low
not
grade?
the cinema where you're going to go see Gone with the Wind, but
Okay.
the cinema where you're going to see a bunch of westerns and sort of
Okay.
smaller films. And we never had the conversation where I said, what were the kind of cinemas you went to? But this is my feeling.
Yeah.
And and I remember he would talk about Sweeney Todd,
Okay.
and because there was a comic strip that had a Todd Slaughter strip in it, which was as Sweeney Todd, and it was like, which seemed really odd thinking about it, that they have this kind of
Yeah.
throat slashing Barbara, uh, Barber, as a comic strip character. But apparently he had that kind of popularity, and so my dad would mention him, and then I never saw him on TV. I didn't even see a photograph of him until I was about, I would say about 18, 17 or 18.
Okay.
And in 1982, we got a TV station here, which was our fourth terrestrial TV station at that
Yeah.
time. Because you know that in Britain, for a long, long time, we only had two or three stations.
Yeah.
So this was when we got the fourth, and they were kind of interested in showing things that hadn't been shown before, and particularly old movies and obscure films and things like that. And they started showing Todd Slaughter, and and I remember very well looking up the TV guide and seeing the face at the window was going to
Really?
be showing late night on a Friday night, and my dad and I were like, yes, yes, we have to watch this. And we just got a VCR as well, so we recorded it
Yeah.
and loved it. Really, 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 both of us enjoyed it. And my dad was like talking about, so, oh yes, yes, I remember him being like this, and when he walks across the screen and he has this kind of little bounce.
Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly
Yeah,
what you mean.
the bounce adds so much to Todd, and my dad was like, oh yes, the bounce.
He's
He
like
was
a
really
walking
doing all
personality.
that to him. Yeah, and and when the film finished, we were just like talking about how great Todd Slaughter was, and
Yeah, because he
you know,
really is.
yeah, and and it was, and in fact, what happened was I was at college at the time. I was doing a film and drama course, and I went in on the following Monday, and we would happen to be studying melodrama at that time,
Really.
and I just said that this film that they showed on Friday, I don't know if anyone here has seen it, but this is a perfect example of Victorian melodrama. And I managed to persuade my tutor to let me bring in a VHS copy of it. So we
The one
actually
you
watched
recorded?
it. I'd recorded it on VHS, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
was it beta? I can't recall. But anyway, so I showed it to the class a few days later, and it had a great reaction. It was like people were laughing in the right places and sort of getting into the spirit of it, and it sort of went down really well.
That's
So
awesome.
that was my initial encounter with Todd Slaughter, and then a few years later, they showed some of the other films. They showed, Sweeney Todd. Um, uh, what's the one? It's Never Too Late to Mend.
Yeah.
All of those '30s ones, and yeah, I loved them. My favorite other film of Todd Slaughter's was The Crimes of Stephen Hawke. Have you seen
See,
that?
that's one of my favorites as well. It's Face the Window and then it's Crimes of Stephen Hawking, really.
And you know why?
Why?
It's the scene with the kid in the garden.
Seriously, that it's such a shocking scene. I was so shocked.
Tardiddleums. The only. And he goes.
He
And you hear the scream off stage, and it's
and
like,
the faces he makes when he's in his villainous
oh
attitude,
yes, is kind of
it,
gurning.
and his
Yeah,
eyes
yeah,
are bulging out of his head. I've seen some like poster things where they really like emphasize on that.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. Um, yeah, so that was I think that's possibly his second best film because
Yeah,
it's so unbridled, you know,
and I've
and they give him a semi-sympathetic character
they kind of do. You're right.
because
You're
he's
right.
decent towards his daughter, and
He has
which is
kind of a reason for what he's doing.
yeah. So it's quite a nice twist, and so when he falls off that turret at the
Hmm.
end, he has this sympathetic ending, and yeah. So yeah, so I immediately warmed to all that. I was like, yeah, this is a great kind of uncelebrated actor, and and then I think a few years later, when would it have been? Probably the '90s was when I wanted to do the documentary on him.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, well, first of all, there were very few people around that, even then that I'd worked with them. I did find Aubrey Woods, who plays Daft Jamie in the oh, Burke and Hare one,
Yeah, I would have loved to
David
meet
William
him.
Hart. That's uh, that's a later one.
Yeah,
Um,
I love his character in that one. It's great.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty good
It
actually, and
is. I like that one a lot.
yeah, it's kind of it's very low budget, and
Yeah.
you can see they've just shot it in corners and stuff like that, but the performances are pretty good,
Yeah.
and the guy playing Moore is entertaining as well.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you know all the stories about that one. Do you know the
Some of
story?
them, I know they had to redub because of the ancestors,
Yeah,
things like
yeah,
that. Yeah. But
yeah.
please indulge me in more. I would love to hear even more.
Well, that was the main story that I heard from Aubrey Woods, was that they'd filmed it and it was complete and everything, and then this descendant of William Burke decided to sue them, so that they had to go back in a studio and just dub out the names, and it's
Yeah.
so obvious when they dub out the names. But what was interesting about Aubrey Woods was he said it made it sound like some stupid musical, Moore and Hart.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was uh, the thing with Aubrey Woods was I really wanted to interview him, but he wouldn't actually do a live interview. He said, if you send me your questions, I'll send you my responses on tape, which he did,
Yeah.
which was a little frustrating because I would have liked to, because
Sit
I
down with
wanted to
him.
say, because he had just been on a big movie right around the same time, a film called The Queen of Spades. Don't know if you've seen that.
No, but I know of the name.
You know the story, The Queen of Spades.
Yes.
And it's a really quite a very stylish movie with Anton Walbrook, and Aubrey Woods is in that. And then immediately afterwards does this tiny film with Todd Slaughter, and I wanted to say to him, what was it like going from this film where they had a bit of money and everything, and you go to this other one where you know we're just sort of shooting it as quickly as we can, but he wouldn't. We couldn't get those kind of answers. So and I tracked down a couple of other people. I think there was a guy by the name of SD Onions, who was like the sound man on several of the 30s ones.
Yeah.
Um, and he had a nice memory of Todd signing a postcard to him, in which it said, "Roll them onions."
Oh my gosh.
But the best story I heard, the best personal story I heard, was this guy had posted on an IMDb review about his parents having been at a show that Todd Slaughter did
Yeah.
um, sometime in the 40s, and the fact was that the shows were much more graphic than the films ever could be.
Yeah.
And one of the things he liked to do is he would have people in smocks, sort of like as they would plant stories in the newspapers saying that there'd been a breakout at a local asylum.
Yeah.
And then, and then in the middle of the show, someone would just turn up in the audience with like a meat cleaver and blood down their schmuck,
Oh
and
my.
sort of like brandishing the blades, and so they would have these little moments of kind of audience involvement, which sounded a lot of fun.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what William Castle would do a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's you raise a really interesting point because I'm doing the Vincent Price film,
Yes,
but
yes.
the I can imagine if Todd had lived a little longer and had been fit, he could have, yeah, he would have been great in a William Castle film or a
He would
British
have
equivalent.
been so good in every like all the directors we think of now with the great horror films, he would have been just good just in those films. He would have been great in
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I mean, I really do think it's kind of a pity that he was sort of sidelined really by the British film industry. They just kind of looked
Yeah.
on him as this kind of little, not very respectable.
So we were talking about the early part of his career.
Yeah, the early part of his career. I mean, really, like I said, till the late 20s, he seems to have been pretty much a straight actor. Um, And then in 1928, when he bought the Elephant and Castle uh, theatre, that was his chance to start doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And he started these seasons of productions, and I think 1931 was the real moment when it took off. I'm dredging my memory here because this is just like conversations Kip and I had. But I think 31 was the moment when he really sort of broke through to fame. It was a kind of
Yeah.
a local celebrity up to then, but then he started becoming a bit more widely known. Um, Interestingly, in the early 30s, he did some recordings of his productions, like for radio. And I'm trying to remember what he did. I think he did the Burke and Hare, and it was like a sort of a 7 minute digest, like a
Yeah.
12 inch 78. And the other one was, yeah, I think possibly Sweeney Todd, because that was,
I think so, because I think I remember hearing that.
yeah, they're interesting recordings because again, he does stuff in those that you don't hear him doing, you don't get to hear in the filmed version, like the whole
No.
point of the pies
Yeah, because I had to censor
watching
so
his
much of it.
victims. I mean, that's one of the details that really really is it's pretty cool when you see
Yeah.
the story. But yeah, um, and I think it was, I mean, George King was basically someone who was really kind of he was getting up to speed. And if you look at, I mean, if you look up IMDb and you read some of the titles of George King's films immediately before he started working with Todd Slaughter, it's like it's no leap to see that he's going to be working with him. I mean, the titles are very kind of like very what's the word, um, like penny dreadful, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to go from like Shadow of the Man to things like Marie Martin, Murder in the Red Barn is not a huge step. Um, but what I find interesting about the first films that Todd made is that it's like the filmmakers seem a bit uncomfortable about directly going into the stories. So they have these sort of bridging things, sequences at the beginning, and in Maria Martin, they line up the cast and
Yeah.
introduce the cast as the characters. And then in The Crimes of Stephen Hawke, there's that sort of fake radio broadcast. I remember something funny about that. When I told you my dad would talk about Todd Slaughter sometimes,
Yeah.
and he mentioned that when he and my mum got their first TV, they saw Todd Slaughter was in some TV program being interviewed, and that was very very intriguing. I was like, really? But then I thought about it, and I thought, no, you guys were married in 1957. Todd Slaughter was dead. He wouldn't have been in a TV show at that point because that was all live. And then I
Yeah.
realized they must have been running The Crimes of Stephen Hawke, and my dad just happened to tune in at that moment. You know,
That is actually really funny to think
yeah,
about that. That it comes across as a, like you said, like a live interview or something.
yeah, yeah. And it's very much in keeping with when he's talking in the Desert Island Discs show. It's very much the same thing. He's like, I've polished off dozens of people in my time. And his nickname was Mr. Murder.
Yeah. It's hilarious. His last name's literally Slaughter. It's just that's his
Yes,
last name.
perfect. So
And he got
perfect.
into the best business for it, really, other than being a butcher or something.
I know. And I also find it funny that for a long time the head of the Elvis Presley fan club was also a Mr. Todd Slaughter.
Really.
Yeah, look him
So
up.
I guess maybe someone liked that name enough.
Yeah, double D, Todd with
Yeah.
a double D, Slaughter.
Well, I also want to know how it was kind of like his downfall, if you will, when that kind of happened.
Well, that's really interesting. Yeah, because I find that whole thing kind of fascinating. I think partly he started having alcohol problems um, in the 40s. Uh, the story goes that he was unwell. I mean, the story goes that he was virtually teetotal until his early 50s. And then at some point, he was not feeling very well before going on to a performance. And his wife suggested that he have a drink of whiskey and rye, whiskey and ginger. And he had a couple of drinks and he felt fine. And he went on and he did the performance. And then he just kept drinking and drank quite a lot, and would always bemoan the fact that had his wife not introduced him to that little ginger and whiskey, he would have been a far healthier man. That
Yep.
was a story he told, apparently. Um, but I think there was changing tastes, and also the war, because his films really stop. That great run of films stop in 1940. So that would have been 1939 that The Crimes of the Dark House was produced. And they initially, what happened was there was a brief moment when filmmaking stopped in England because they just didn't know whether it was safe for people to go to cinemas if there was air raids. And then after a short time, it was realized that actually film was very important and very important to keeping the morale up. And so in fact, they should keep cinemas open and keep films being made. But I think at that point, the kind of films that were being made changed. The quota quickie system died out because the rules had changed in the late 30s. They had the quota acts in the early 30s, and those were sort of kind of wound up in the early 40s. And so because also there was only so much celluloid, you had to kind of be approved to make films. So what's the purpose of this film? Is it educational? Is it going to advance the war effort? Is it a classical piece? Things like that. And if you look at the kind of films that are being made during the war, other than things like comedies and George Formby, Will Haig, not Gracie Fields, but there's a few other low budget ones, Frank Randall, which were seen as being morale boosting.
Yes.
I don't think they thought of Todd Slaughter as being exactly morale boosting.
No,
I
because
did.
they're
I
already
thought they
kind
could
of
be
facing
tremendous.
war, I guess, and that's kind of horror-ish in its
Yeah,
self.
yeah. It's kind of like it's like dwelling on something that death and dismemberment and stuff
Yeah.
like that is not quite fitting anymore. And at the same time, his stage career sort of slowed down. I mean, I know he was still performing, but it was getting harder during the war. But he did some radio as well, and he did a few shorts and stuff. And then I think after the war, when he was able to resume work again, um, again the steam had gone out of it, and I think changing tastes, melodrama, it was no longer. Audiences were just a bit more sophisticated, I think,
Yeah.
in the late 40s, and so those films, if they were going to work, they had to be really well made. And the problem was the films that Todd was in at that point were not brilliantly made films. There was this sort of drive towards films being more respectable and sort of,
Hmm.
you know, which had always been a problem, I think, in the 30s as well. There was this sort of whole thing of we must make our industry, you know, comparable with the American industry. And the thing that I don't really get. Oh, and another thing I think with Todd Slaughter is just the whole decline in horror as a genre. Because if you think about Greed of William Hart comes out in 1948, and that's his last horror film. And across in America, horror had died out with Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein the same year.
Yep.
And so you have this fallow period of like 6 years, 7 years. There's a couple of things being made, but not really as much. And in Britain, you had things like there was actually some pretty good low budget ghost stories being made in the late 40s here. There's one called The Ghost of Rashomon Hall,
Yeah, I've seen that.
which I think is actually, I mean, my wife and I, Tracy, and I saw that the first time. We were really impressed. I mean, the acting was amateurish. Um, the production was basic, and yet it had a good idea there. And the whole thing with the painting and the figure in the painting getting closer to the house, that was well done. And then the ghosts themselves, when they materialize, that was all pretty good. And, it's like, whoa, there's something breaking through in this film. And I love when that happens. Uh,
I like to find and discover new horror films from the 40s period because there's some really good stuff, even if it's just borderline that you've never heard of, like you said.
yeah,
That one's not very widely known, I would say.
no, no, it's not. And it's a shame, but it's probably better known now than it was 20 years ago, because at least
Definitely.
can get decent copies of it. And there's things like there are adaptations of the House of Usher, like in the early 50s. There's one that's like it looks like they just shot it in a shed in a adjacent field. It's just so bad, but it's the House of Usher
Yep.
in some form. Yeah, but I do like those films. I mean, I get a kick out of them a lot. You know.
I do too. I like to see the low budget efforts and what they had to be put through or what they had to do.
Hmm.
You know,
And
I mean,
there's sorry,
something so simple. I'm sorry. I
no,
was saying this pen, for example, you would paint it to look like a knife if you couldn't use a real knife. I don't know, just something like that.
mm, yeah. There's one little film of Todd's, which is a real curiosity. I'm sure you're aware of it. Have you seen or heard of A Ghost for Sale?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, A Ghost for Sale is a film that was made at the same time as he was doing the Inspector Morley films, which we can talk about in a minute. And basically, it's about this couple who go to check out this house. Their estate agent has sent them to this house, and they meet this older gentleman, Todd Slaughter, who starts talking to them about the house and the history of the house, and then basically talks about this squire that lived there, a century or two ago, and the terrible things he did. And then this is about 5 minutes into the film. It segues into an abbreviated version of The Curse of the Rydens.
Oh my gosh.
So it's just basically using archive footage from the previous film introduced and capped by, and at the end, Todd comes, they turn around to Todd and they say, "Oh, that can't be true," and he goes, "Ah, ha, 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 ha," and vanishes.
So it's really taking that footage and using it in something better.
Yeah, and it's generally considered the best version of it because they prune it down to about 25 minutes, and it moves, unlike the film, which doesn't. But yeah, so that was quite funny, and
I
I saw that at
I
the
can't believe
BFI.
that film is so long.
Hmm?
I said I can't believe Curse of the Ravens is so long.
Yeah, it's the longest film he made.
Yeah, it's very odd for that time, I would say. Even bigger productions don't seem to be that long.
No, no, it's I don't know why it was made that
I
long because it didn't have enough
wonder
time.
if they got lazy when they were editing it, maybe.
Well, the editing is non-existent for the most part.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
think, well, another thing about the quota quickie system, and maybe it was something to do with this, is that you were paid per foot.
Okay.
So the longer your film was, the more you were paid. So maybe they thought, let's pass this off as a full-length feature because what is it,
True.
100 minutes or something? It's
I
maybe
mean,
95.
if you're not making art, you might as well make money.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I am having so much problems right now. I'm not trying to be rude. I am
Don't
trying to
worry.
log into my computer email so that way we can go on the computer because my phone is low now.
Oh, right. Don't worry, why I have issues sometimes with this stuff too. You just have to kind of roll with it.
And then running out of storage on everything, needing to get new hard drives.
I was doing an interview with who was it? Oh, with Graham Humphreys. The guy that.
Yeah,
Oh, hey, I'm going to show you something.
I see Vincent Price.
Yeah, it's the poster. There you go.
That's awesome. See that's what I have a movie poster on right now. That's what I love
It's a
wearing.
cool one. Yeah, but that's the poster Graham Humphreys did, and this is the T-shirt with
It looks awesome.
Voltage Films on the back. This is the first one.
I'll have to get myself one of those. Are they only for your the backers?
Yeah. Well, you're a backer anyway.
Yes.
Yes. Well, and also I'm making an announcement. We finally sorted out because we had these add-ons which became impossible to get when the campaign
Yeah.
passed the 29th of May, and it was because when I was setting it up, I hadn't entered all the information I had to enter. So I've gone back and done that and now we can actually. So I'm going to do a little relaunch with all of the items that we're offering, the add-ons, and also like a special thing that because I thought it would be nice. Because I mean, people are pretty patient, and they realize the film isn't finished and that
Yeah.
it's not actually going to be available till on DVD anyway till February. But what I thought was, well, there's nothing to stop us doing the other rewards, the non-media ones, earlier, maybe in
That's
time for
true.
Halloween. So I thought I'll do that
Yeah.
as part of an announcement that people can have as an add-on a sort of
And that could even be
discount.
like a marketing for you as well.
Oh, that's
If people see that shirt, then they'll
yeah.
ask about it,
People
then they
going
can
around
look forward
wearing
to
the
that film.
T-shirt.
Go on with your what do you call it? Your Kickstarter. I want you to tell everyone about that.
Oh, sure, sure. Well, yeah. What do you want me to say? Because I mean, we did the campaign from April to May. That was the main campaign for
Hmm.
Vincent Price, and it went very well actually. It was a really kind of exciting, enjoyable campaign to do. And then
Yeah.
because we passed the target, the initial target, we were able to keep it running, and we have kept it running. Although it sort of slowed down because there was some technical problems, which were my fault actually. I should have set it up better, but we're going to be we're going to be getting that sorted out in the next day or two, and people that are already pledgers will get big updates and they'll get pictures of what the rewards actually look like so that they can add those on if they want. And those people that are seeing it for the first time will also have a chance as well to pledge. But we're gonna announce a kind of a shutdown day when it's going to end because it can't go on forever.
No.
And and I don't want it to either because I need to focus on the film.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think I'm thinking maybe 30 days. I'll give it a 30-day with a maybe with a ticking clock or something
Yeah.
like that.
Something like that. Yeah, that'd be cool. With Vincent Price's face on his nose.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. Could do that.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna put the link in my show notes so people can go find that. I want them to help
oh,
out.
that'd be great. We will be putting up a fresh link as well, like a special link that will take people. Sorry, hang on, I'm thinking of something else. Yes,
No, you're
what
fine.
you just said. No, I'm thinking of a I'll let you in on a secret, Wyatt. And that is that we're actually planning another campaign, not for Vincent Price, but for another project,
Okay.
and that's going to be starting late in October. And that's another reason why I want to sort of finalize anything with this one quicker, so that people will get most of the rewards, and at least they won't be feeling like, oh, he's doing something else and we're still waiting for those. And I just thought, well, you have to kind of deal with that. But now I got a project that I did started many years ago, about 18 years ago, and it was in relation with Leslie Howard. And it's a kind of a documentary about Leslie Howard, big star in the 30s and early 40s, was famously shot down by the Germans, by the Nazis, in
Hmm.
1943 when he was traveling back from Portugal, having been on a sort of cultural propaganda tour there. And there was all sorts of reasons advanced as to why the plane was shot down. Was it because they thought he was a spy? Was it because they thought his manager was Winston Churchill because he was bald and smoked a cigar? And there was a couple of other people who was actually a spy on the plane, things like that. And I started doing a film about that because everyone I interviewed about Leslie Howard would start talking about the shooting down of the plane.
Really?
And I was like, well, yeah, that's great, but I'm talking about Leslie Howard's life, not his death. And so I kept all those interviews, and then I thought, well, okay, maybe we can build this up. And so it sort of kept going for almost 18 years, just quietly gathering interviews as more and more family descendants have come to me and sort of said, "You're doing this Flight 777 film," and I'm like, "Yeah." And like, "Would you want to hear about my great grandfather who was on it?" Yeah, of course. And so I interview them, and so I've amassed all these stories, and it's kind of like it's an interesting testimony to all these people's lives. And so I thought this year I want to finish this one. So immediately following Vincent Price, I plan to get the mystery, the enigma of Flight 777 done and dusted. So that'll come out April, June next year. So
That
that's
would be awesome to see.
so that's that. So it's like a different thing entirely. It's like moving away. It's not horror, although it's a kind of a story with some kind of fantastic aspects to it. And I'm going to have some actors in it as well. It's going to be sort of dramatized. So it's going to be a bit different from
Oh, that would be really cool to see. Yeah.
yeah.
See, I've been wanting to make some documentaries myself, but you have to get all the people together.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's true. It's true. Well, yeah, I mean, I have to say I've been really lucky with Vincent because, I've had, I mean, without me leaving the UK, I've been filming stuff in LA and, various parts of the States because I've had people basically being willing to help out. And that's really great. I mean, I think, do you know what's it called? The Borgia Pass podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, Livio Marino and Jim Towns. These
I
guys.
listened to them.
Yeah, they're great, and I did one with them earlier this year, and Jim helped out with the filming that we did with John Landis and Joe Dante and David Del Val and Carrie Bible, which was really nice. It was just like he just wanted to be involved, and so that's the nice thing about social media. You can find people that will want to be collaborators with you. So, and in the same way, if you were doing something and, it had some sort of UK connection where I could help out, then,
Yeah, that would be great.
yeah.
To keep my eyes open and my wits about me and get some stuff done whenever I have time to do it.
Yeah. Have you made anything yet? And have you got any
Um,
sort of small
so
things?
I've made a very short documentary. I never released it or anything. It's about alien big cats or phantom cats. I know
Uh,
that's pretty big in the UK.
oh,
So
yeah.
I saw one of them here in the US, although of course we have a lot of big cats here, but I saw a black panther specifically when I
Oh,
was
yeah.
younger. So that's what got me interested, and I'm like, well, let me explore this and let's make this documentary about it. It's maybe only like 22, 25 minutes long. I never released it yet or anything. It's still kind of in the editing process, if anything. Um, I haven't really worked on trying to release it because I don't know where it would even have a home.
Mm. It's well, yeah. I mean, I guess I think the first step is really to try and get it shown. Um, not necessarily online, but maybe just do set up some screenings. And I mean, I'm assuming you've shown it to friends at least.
No, because it's not even finished at all.
Oh well, if you're not finished, that's a different thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, truth be said, I'm terribly slow.
me,
I
me
think I
too.
really am. I'm speeding the process up for Vincent Price because I think I have to, and if I
See,
continue
when you
waiting,
have so much people waiting, you have a reason to hurry up.
yeah, I do, and that's the thing. The Kickstarter gave me that sort of a big impetus to really sort of get it wrapped up. But I'm shooting some more interviews though. I'm shooting a guy by the name of Chris Frayling. It's Christopher Frayling, who's like he's sort of he's in Boris Karloff as well,
Hmm.
and but he's also an art historian. And so I thought it'd be interesting to get him talking about Vincent Price and art.
Yeah.
So we're doing an interview this Wednesday, Thursday, in fact, on that. And I've just upgraded my equipment because my filming equipment to 4K. So
Okay.
that's
Yeah, I'm still stuck in 1080p.
yeah, I was, and I thought, you know what, I just need to do this. I need to bite this bullet because it's future proofing,
Yeah,
if
it is.
nothing else. Plus you have a lot more flexibility, and I'm getting much more into the lighting side of things, I mean, like gobos and stuff, so you can have stuff in the background, so it just looks nicer and has a bit more depth.
Yeah, instead of just plain or something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with plain. Each film should be a step forward in some
It's
sense.
a yes. It's I would like to say Ed Wood was that way, but not all.
Oh, Ed Wood. Ed Wood.
But he has a charm to him. You can't lie there.
Huh?
I said he does have a charm, though.
Oh, Ed Wood has immense charm. No, no. I like his films a lot. Um,
Hmm.
they're like. So the thing is, it's interesting. Sometimes the ideas he has are actually quite ahead of their time. He
Yeah.
had this sort of distinctly anti-war thing, and also this kind of this worry about nuclear stuff, which it seems quite modern now in a way. So, yeah, no, we were talking about your film. Um, yeah, I mean, once I'm a terribly slow editor, yes, and I mean, like Boris, so Boris took probably a year and a half to edit, but what really drove that one in the end was that Shout Factory, sort of, well, Abramarama
Hmm.
got involved, and he loved. I'd done this sort of 17-minute first sequence, which just I edited myself, and I was learning how to use Avid at the time, so it was kind of like my first crack at it. And I sent it to Abramarama, and he liked it. And he had a contact at Shout Factory. And the funny thing with Shout Factory is I'd been trying to get them on board for 2 years. I'd even been there and met, you know, oh, what's the guy's name? Don't remember right now. But anyway, Fields and Jordan Fields. And I met him and we talked about it. And I thought, I left there thinking, I'm going to get some money from Shout Factory to finish this film.
Yeah.
It was like 2019. And it wasn't happening. And so, a year and a half later, Richard Abramovitz got in touch with them and basically convinced them and said, okay, they're gonna make you an offer. And I was like, what? They're gonna make me an offer? And they did, and it was like, I calculated it, and I realized it wasn't enough to finish, to finish the film. But I thought I got to take the chance, you know. And so they signed. They sent us this deal. There was some issues with it, and I went to a legal guy. I thought I should have a legal guy go through this, and he went through it, and then it went back and forward a bit, and it dragged on for another month and a half while I was waiting for them to actually send the money. And they finally sent the money in the first week of June, with the proviso the film had to be delivered complete by August 17th,
Okay. Yeah. That'll definitely
which
do it.
was and I just said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. I thought, how do I do it? And fortunately, I had an editor, but I literally drove her into the ground because, well, not quite, but it was very stressful and a kind of weird situation. You're just kind of working all hours trying to knock this thing together. But it was a baptism of fire because when I did Leslie Howard, it was very much at my own pace.
Yeah.
And I spent a couple of years on it, which I'm thinking you're probably doing with yours. And that's nice, and it's a luxury that once you get into, working with people that are in the industry, you do not get that. So enjoy it while you can, is what I would say, you know.
What I've noticed,
Yeah.
personally with the film industry is, well, so I also make found footage horror films. That's mainly what I make because
Oh,
it's
cool.
cheap and I can do it.
Yeah.
So far I've made two. Only one has been released because the other one is still within Film Hub in review for
Right.
months. After I emailed them, I don't know what's going on with it. So the first one I got it distributed and all that. I've sent it to a lot of people in the film industry to say, hey, just let me know what you think, whatever. And they all ghosted me. It's completely fine if you don't like the film, but I wanted them to like come back and say, I didn't care for it.
Yeah.
Maybe this would help because it's my first film. I will be completely honest, the audio sucks.
Hmm.
The maybe the camera angles and everything isn't great. I mean, it's very cheap, poorly produced. My first film. I wanted feedback. I wanted them to come back and just tell me, but they just ghosted me. I'm just like, okay, that's fine. That's cool.
It's weird, isn't it? It's weird. Um, so yeah, I mean, some people just aren't good at giving. If they the thing you don't know when they ghost you is did they even watch it?
True.
And that's the annoying thing. It's like you want, if someone came back to you and just said, "I'm sorry, I don't have time," you could kind of go, "All right."
Yeah, like tell
At
me.
least you got the release of trying to pester them. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, no, I find that very strange. I find that very. I mean, obviously, there's kind of trash emails you get, which are just kind of like nonsense. But if I got a genuine email from someone asking me to, you know, just check out their film, um, well, maybe it's because I don't get hundreds of those.
Hmm.
I would quite likely say, sure, why not?
Same here. Yeah.
Yeah, Um, funny enough, last year I heard from a writer in Canada, in Toronto, and he had seen the horror icons sort of concept, the series concept, and he
Hmm.
checked out the Voltage Films site, and he wrote to me asking, are you looking for scripts? And and my initial response was, well, no, it's really documentaries.
Yeah.
But then I kind of reread his email, and I think I checked out he'd sent a link to a pitch deck that he'd done for a piece that he was working on. And I looked at it and I thought, this looks really good. Just, in terms of the way he'd realized it as a pitch deck, I thought, this is nice. And it's got some work in it. And I wrote to him and I said, um, what you've sent me is kind of a thing of beauty, just as a promotional piece. And yeah, I will read your script. Although I'll be honest, here's what I'm doing. And then I said, but I have an idea of my own. I wonder if you'd be interested. And I told him this story, which was actually two stories that I'd written that were separate, entirely separate stories about one being about an artist in the sort of modern times who has to go back to take care of her mother's home and starts sort of having, well, she starts losing her eyesight actually, and gets very depressed. But then she discovers that she can sculpt, and she can, And I thought this would be like a kind of art, sort of arty film about someone going from being a visual person to being a touch person. So that was the one half of it, and the other half of it was this story about a memento mori photographer in 19th century who is very, very sort of specific about his work and everything, and kind of neglects his family a little bit, and they all get sick and die,
Yeah.
and he goes mad, and that was like the one thing, and I was looking at these two stories, neither of which quite added up. They were interesting, but then I thought, well, how could I unite these two stories? I thought, well, what if the girl in the modern story is haunted by these people?
Okay.
And as soon as I started thinking of that, it was like, oh, yeah, and then it kind of came to life, and so I wrote out the synopsis, and I presented it to Barry, and it was initially called Vision slash Still Life, which was the two separate titles initially, and then I said, but I've come up with another title. And he said, "Oh, what's that?" I said, "Tick, tick, tick," because it's the sound that the apparatus that the 19th century photographer uses when it's doing these exposures, and it does this ticking thing,
Hmm.
and that becomes a kind of an introduction to the whatever the new horror is that's going to happen. You hear this tick, 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 and then we got really into it. We spent about 7 months, actually 6 months, writing it, and we finished it about March or April, and we put the final touches to it in June. In fact, I held off the beginning of the Vincent Price campaign because I was so kind of focused on finishing that. And we're
Yeah.
hoping to film that next year, like summer next year. So that will be the big step, you know.
Yeah, that'd be
You're hearing all
awesome.
my plans, by the way. You get the whole gamut.
I I love it.
We've got the script out there. We've got it. He's got it. He's entered it into this thing called Inktip, which is like a forum for it, and I've got a few people reading it as well. We're trying to get them to reply, but it's the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
Even people I know are kind of like, you have to give them a prod, it seems, you know.
Yep.
But I know it's a good script, and that's the main thing, because it was kind of like Barry and I, we worked through this thing, and what we would do is we'd each do a draft. So he would do a draft, send it to me, I'd go through it and work on it for a few weeks, and then send back a new draft. And sometimes I would completely throw new plot spins in, you know. And at one point, I had this Angel of Death character,
Okay.
which was like, what, what is this?
You're having this creative flow.
Yeah, it was very much that, and it was very much kind of, and it was exciting because the thing is, um, I'm not very good at writing on my own scripts. So I just get bored, and
Yeah.
I lose track. And I said to Barry, the thing I realized when he was sending me his script, I was full of ideas and like, yeah, and like actually getting quite busily writing stuff. And yeah, it didn't quite fit, you know, but it was like I could feel the juices were flowing, and that's why I thought, yeah,
Hmm.
maybe we can dig this old one out, and he can work on it with me. And yeah, it went very well, and I'm hoping we'll work on other things as well, you know, because
Yeah.
it's just turned out to be such a thrill actually to write like that. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I I don't write scripts for my film. I will write kind of plot lines. We
yeah,
need to do this with kind of that found footage style because I'm improvising all of it,
of
right?
course, of course.
I have an idea for one of my films I want to do, which I haven't really worked on much at all, just a little bit of the writing. Um, it's found footage still, but there's a man who is obsessed with Bela Lugosi so much so to where it's unhealthy. Uh, I don't know if you're familiar at all with a film called Be My Cat, a film for Anne.
No,
Okay, there's kind of a guy in there who's obsessed with the actress Anne Hathaway.
all right, okay.
Yes, and that's kind of where I got the idea from. But this man who I will be playing him is so obsessed with Bela Lugosi that he believes he really is a vampire, that he needs to bring him back from the dead somehow. So I have this lobby card from Invisible Ghost, which is one of my favorite films he was in. And I'm thinking of like some kind of dark ritual takes place where he cuts his blood and has it drip on the lobby card, and somehow it's some ritual that will bring him back. I don't even know. It's just some ideas I was spitballing thinking about.
Cool, cool. I once it's funny that we were talking about Edward D. Wood before, but I once started writing what I conceived as an Edward D. Wood Bela Lugosi vehicle,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
called I think it was going to be called A Trip to Mars,
okay,
and I wrote about 5 pages of it, and I mean this was like 40 years ago I wrote this, and I found this folder up in my loft, and it was all stuff I'd written in the late 70s and early 80s, like when I was a teenager. And there it was. I actually found the original script, the 5 pages that I'd written. And it was very much in a sort of pseudo Ed Wood mold. Uh, the sort of first scene with Bela Lugosi is this sort of reporter finds Bela Lugosi in a gymnasium, which is all blacked out.
yeah.
And, and he's wearing dark glasses as well. And the reporter says, why are you wearing dark glasses? Oh, because it is very dark on Mars. It's very far from the sun. and,
Wow.
and then he's got calipers on, which weigh his legs down, and he's kind of like, "Urgh, urgh." And they're like, so why are you wearing the calipers? Because gravity is very strong. It just went on like that for a page or two. Unfortunately, I lost interest in it, but it was like there was the germ of something there, and I thought, you know, if you just did it as a kind of a Bela Lugosi, the Bela Lugosi Ed Wood film that never happened.
Yeah, it's like a tribute or a homage, even if you were just to write it into a book or something like that.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I uh I take forever to write anything. Like I said, I did write a book one time.
yeah.
One time.
Whoa.
And I don't think I'll ever do it again because I have some other books that have been in my notes for years that I'll probably never finish.
What was the book?
It's called Umbra, an Appalachian Spook Tale. It's
The
about
stories, stories.
no, they're not stories, it's
Oh,
just one story.
right.
Um I have an obsession with the word spook tale because I was told in the 1920s instead of a horror film, they would say it's a spook tale. So
Hmm.
that's why I call all spooky stuff a spook tale now. So it's kind of like a book where there's a young boy who is really good friends with this girl. They're
Uh-huh.
both like around preteen age, something like that. And she goes missing. And so her parents left after that, mysteriously. And so he's basically depressed and trying to figure out what happened to her and trying to find her because no one knows what happened to her. Eventually, these dark-eyed beings show up that are demonic in
Oh,
nature.
beings. I thought you said beans.
No, not beans. That
Oh,
would be funny though.
beans.
Yeah, black-eyed peas.
Yeah, really.
Okay,
Stick
so
with that.
yeah,
Go
so
on.
these dark-eyed beings are basically hounding him and stalking him, and he's trying to get to the bottom of it. And his father soon finds out, oh, these things are demons. And so basically, his whole family is battling against these things in the end, and they win, and they find out what happens to Blakely, his friend. But that's all I'll say.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. Interesting.
I've
Interesting.
had a few people read it because I put it on Amazon myself, but haven't really got much other people to read it. Just
Mm.
kind of people I knew.
You know what? I mean, it's always good. I mean, just you keep doing, you keep writing,
Hmm.
and you find that it's a muscle that the more you exercise it, the better it gets. I mean, like
Yeah.
having gone through that whole process with Barry, um, I've realized, yeah, I do like writing, but I still want to do it in collaboration. I don't want to
Hmm.
start it myself. I'll let him do that grunt work of laying down the basis that I can then go, nah, 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 nah.
Yeah.
But you know, it is fun when you get into it. When you really start getting inspired, it's like, you know, there are those moments where you just like, you know, where you can't stop, and you're just like, you're just banging away on the keyboard, and it's like it's a great feeling. And it's like your mind is like creating all these scenes, and everything
Yeah.
is like it's about 5 pages ahead of you, and you're sort of racing to catch up.
That's what I would think about the ending, how I want the ending. I'm like, this needs to happen in the ending. And I would think of like songs I know they would
Mhm.
play in my head that they would play over that part of the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Even though it's a book, like I'm thinking of it as a movie while I'm writing it.
that's a natural thing, I think. I mean, because you know, and because when you're reading a book, you've got it's there's a movie going on in your
Hmm.
head, you know. So that's exactly how it is
It's
for
almost like you're
author.
reading a script or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that just means that means it's working, you know.
Hmm.
Um, Going back to Todd Slaughter,
Yeah. Yes.
I don't mind. I'm happy to talk about anything really.
All
But
right, me too.
yeah, Todd. Yeah, the decline. So yeah, I think it was partly because of the change in the horror genre itself, the fact that just it fell away, and his style of acting was well. Actually, it's funny. You know, you get you hear people saying his style of acting went out of fashion, but then you see someone like Donald Wolfett doing Svengali and Blood
Yeah,
of the Vampire. That is total Todd Slaughter.
it
If you
is.
think about it, it's as over the top. He's like hitting the ham quotient really hard, and you know, and it works. You know, so
I've
maybe
met.
hmm,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. I kind of
Okay.
I reached a point, but I kept talking.
I was
But
gonna
I don't
say
know what else to
you
say.
see a Todd Slaughter pop up every now and then, always in a film, even if it's just for that one scene. You know? There's the melodramatic acting or overacting, if you want to call it, has always been in films.
Yeah,
Before Todd Slaughter, after well, especially before because it's silent films, you would have to do that.
yeah.
But then after, like I see them nowadays in films
Who do
where
you who do you think of? Who do you think of?
no one's specifically just bad actors, if that makes
Uh,
sense.
yeah, but that's the interesting thing. You see, Todd Slaughter wasn't a bad actor.
No, he wasn't. He was great. It's
Yeah,
just that's the thing. It's like he's a great actor and it's a great acting style. But then whenever other people try to do it, if they don't have it as a profession or perfect it, it's bad.
I think what it is that he has a commitment to what he's doing. He
Hmm.
he, he believes what he's doing, and it's like all of these people at Bill Lugosi, who you just mentioned. What makes them so good is that they literally believe what they're doing when they're doing it.
Yes.
Not necessarily all the time, but when they're performing, they're really in that moment. I mean, the famous story with Bill Lugosi when they were filming Dracula. Um, who was it that knew Helen Chandler, who was
Yes.
the actress playing Nina, I think. And she said he kept walking around going, "I am Dracula,
Hmm.
I am Dracula." And it was like, that's pretty method if you think about it.
Yeah. That's why he will always be my favorite actor, if you can see that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Because, he becomes the character.
Mm,
That's
mm,
how I've always thought of him as. Like, he becomes the character. And the same thing with Todd Slaughter. That's why he's another one of my favorites. He just becomes that character.
yeah. There's a really curious film that surfaced about a year ago. It was shown here in England on a channel called Talking Pictures TV.
Hmm.
And it was a long lost Todd Slaughter film called Darby and Joan. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Heard of it, yeah. Well, it finally came to light, and it's a sort of a drama about this. I'm trying to even remember the story. Um, Gosh, oh well, Darby and Joan are these two characters, and it sort of follows them, and Todd Slaughter plays their father, and it's a sympathetic part, but he's hardly in it. He's
Really.
got maybe three scenes through the whole film, and this is 1936, 37. So it's Todd is at his peak as a film attraction, and clearly they just put him in for marquee value.
That's what they do with Lugosi. It's weird how they kind of
Yes,
tie in the same there.
yeah, but it's so fascinating that he's playing a normal person,
Hmm.
and but it's depressing in a weird way because it's like you want him to let rip,
Hmm.
or and you can see he's kind of like you know
He has to hold it in. He has to hold it in.
and so it's a very strange film, and the guy that plays the main part, which is this actor named Ian Fleming, curiously enough, and who played Watson in some of the 1930s Sherlock Holmes films before Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce, um, is a very kind of bland sort of character, and I thought, it would have been better if Slaughter at least had the lead good guy part.
Yeah.
If they're going to use him at all, why not just, yeah, all right, let's put him as a sympathetic character in the lead and see how it does. But it's interesting though because it was, I mean, we were watching it and we were saying, it's like, yeah, you can actually see he's an actor. He's
Hmm.
really is genuinely an actor. He's not just this ham, but he can tone it down. And yeah, so I would love to see some more of him doing that, you know, but there's not much.
Yeah.
I mean, the Inspector Morley series. Okay, let's talk about Inspector Morley. Have
Okay.
you seen any of those?
I haven't seen any.
Okay, well, I think I told you the story that these were like meant to be a TV series in the 50s,
Hmm.
and it was the same guy that directed The Curse of the Rydens. So you, you kind of get the idea that these are not going to be really creatively filmed. What is very interesting about them, though, is that it's Todd Slaughter in a contemporary setting, 1950s London,
Okay.
post World War II, and he's wearing normal street clothes, and he's this. He plays two parts actually, twin brothers called Terence Riley and Philip Riley, and they're indistinguishable. And they never appear in the same sequence, by the way. It's just that they stupidly killed off one of the
Yeah,
characters because they had this whole thing of like, crime does not pay, and so they had to kill off the main character. So they had to make another character for him to be in the next film, which was kind of a bit dumb. But and but he has a few good scenes, like things like he fills a bath with acid to
really.
dispose of one of the characters, and the bath gets spilled and the acid goes across the floor, and it's not very well done, but it's the
It's
intention.
there.
And but what's funny is the kind of the dialogue that they give him, because it's very sort of he's being his full self. He's very cackly and and sort of killing people left, right, and center. But the dialogue is very sort of well, it's that thing of you kind of expect him to come out with this kind of eloquent dialogue, and they're not quite up to it. So like he calls someone a nincompoop and things like that, and it's just like it doesn't quite carry the weight of Edgar Allan Poe or anything like that. But
Yeah.
and they're quite fun, these films. But yeah, if you Google or go to YouTube and do Inspector Morley, you'll see a few of them. They generally have about maybe 5 or 6 minutes of footage of Todd in there, and 13 to 20 minutes of footage of the other people, because obviously they again they couldn't afford to have him in the film all the way through.
No,
So some are better than others. And then
that's definitely something I want to watch, though.
yeah, I mean it's fascinating, and for years you couldn't see these films, and they were actually compiled into feature films as well. And there's a feature film called what's it called? King of the Underworld. That's it. And
Oh, I've seen that. I've not seen it, but I've heard it.
right, yeah. Well, that's been on TV, and basically it's three episodes, sort of clumsily stitched together. And at the end, the main good guy comes on and says, justice was seen to be done to Terence Riley. He was hung, and it's like, oh, great, so you've killed him off. Yeah, it's kind of like if they just made it a bit later, when you could have the sort of the bad guy getting away, or maybe like an overarching plot.
Yeah,
That was, I think those would have worked if they'd been like a serial rather than just independent stories.
because it sounds like a serial kind of whenever
It
the
wants
way
to
you're
be.
talking about it. Yeah.
It wants to be. I mean, he's meant to be a master criminal, but he's not really. He gets fooled too many times. I don't know. The thing with these films is they were just rushed off and rushed out. And if there'd been a little more money and a little more talent involved, although in all fairness, I think John Gilling was involved in a few, and he is very talented. You know, do you know John Gilling's work?
Not sure, to
He
be
did
honest.
Plague of the Zombies. He directed that.
Okay, then yes. Okay, I do know. I just didn't recognize. I'm not huge into Hammer, but I've been inside of Hammer a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Reptile and the Plague of the Zombies are the two films that John Gilling did back to back, and they're the best.
Plague
But
of the Zombies is really good, so I'm sure Reptile is as well. I need to see that one.
yeah, yeah, it's a cool film, and they both have Jacqueline Pierce as well,
Okay, yeah.
very arresting actress who should have been promoted much more, but she wasn't really interested in doing horror apparently. Yeah,
It seems to be the case with a lot of them back then. They didn't want to do horror, but that's what we remember them as now, and that's
yeah.
what we wish they were in more.
Well, like say The Devil Rides Out. I
Hmm.
mean, okay, my guilty pleasure in The Devil Rides Out. I mean, it's a great film, but is Nikki Arangina. The girl that plays not Tabitha. She's the girl basically that they're trying to save,
Hmm.
and I think she's hypnotic. I think she's a very good actress, and she never did anything else. Literally, I mean, I think she was in an episode of The Persuaders as a Russian terrorist.
It, ma-
And it was
it
like
makes me
I
wonder how
was
that
watching
happens.
I was watching The Persuaders one time, and there was a scene in a plane with these terrorists, like a sort of small plane, and I went, "That's Nikki, it's her," and because I recognised that voice, that kind of deep voice of hers. But yeah, yeah. But you know you see that happening with these people that have kind of a certain talent and they don't want to pursue it, or you know the
Hmm.
offers don't go right. I mean, like Martine Beswick is another one. I mean, she's wonderful in Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, and she's pretty damn good in the oh, that prehistoric one with the slave girls, where she's like, you know, she's sort of like whipping all the men.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that one.
No, I want to watch more prehistoric ones. I've seen what Teenage Caveman. I have not seen many
Well,
more than
that's
that
a
though.
Corman, isn't it? Yeah, with
Hmm.
Robert Vaughn.
I'm a
Yeah.
big Corman fan.
Oh well, Corman's obviously, yeah. Yeah, no, no, well, that was why I was so nervous when I went to interview Corman, because it was kind of like, ah, it's Roger Corman.
Yeah.
But he was very nice, and I was able to interview him, you know, for Vincent as well, because we started while he was still alive, so
Yeah.
that was good. So, and I actually got him talking about people like Basil Rathbone as well, and Barbara
Oh,
Steele,
I
and
see.
yeah,
I
it
want to
was.
know about his stories through the Sherlock Holmes films. How Basil felt about doing those and personal stories behind those.
Oh wow, that would be great, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that he liked them at first. He liked when they were big budget films at 20th
Hmm.
Century Fox, and I think you know it's very funny with Basil Rathbone, because even you know the films you would think he would like the most, you know, like Son of Frankenstein, where he's the star and he's you know he's very charismatic, and things like The Mark of Zorro or The Adventures of Robin Hood. He kind of looked on those films as just sort of, oh, you know, good entertainment.
Hmm.
They weren't the films that he took seriously. He took seriously things like Romeo and Juliet, and you know, which it's all right, but it's not a great film. It's an okay film if you're in the mood. And he was very much kind of old school in that sense.
Yeah.
And there's that famous story of when this couple were in Central Park in 1964 or 65, and this oldish man was walking past, and it was a windy day, and his hat blew off, and they rescued his hat, took it over to him, and it was Basil Rathbone. And Basil
Yeah.
Rathbone was very courteous and said, "Thank you very much, thank you very much." Put his hat back on, and they started talking. And they said he was lovely. He was really friendly and charming and everything. And then at one point, the woman said, "I just saw your latest film a few weeks ago, The Comedy of Terrors, and it was wonderful." And he said, "Oh, how boring," and walked off. And I was like, "Wow." And, you know, that was his best film next to Tales of Terror that he did in it was his best part in the 60s. And and yet you hear stories about him on the set, and you look at photographs, and he looks like he's having a whale of a time.
Hmm.
And I have a theory about this: is that he was married to a very pretentious woman, Ouida. You know about his wife.
I don't know about his wife.
Well, Ouida was I can't remember her surname right now, but she presented herself as as an established screenwriter, you know, producer, all this stuff, and she had all this kind of like Russian background, Russian royalty, aristocracy, and she was a screenwriter at a certain point in the silent era, but she really wasn't that good. You know, she was, and a lot of what she said was just kind of things that she'd kind of trumped up a bit and sort of said, you know, this and that. And she was just a very big self-publicist, and the tragedy was that Basil let her write the play of Sherlock Holmes, which was the time that he really wanted to do Sherlock Holmes, you know, and was because he needed a comeback.
Hmm.
Career was flagging in the 50s, and he needed a big comeback, and so he trusted in Ouida Berger. That was that was her surname,
Okay.
and and she wrote this play which just apparently had unspeakable dialogue. And the reviewers, and I mean literally, when I say unspeakable, you couldn't speak it well. Uh, the reviewers were like saying, Basil Rathbone seems hesitant as Sherlock Holmes, which they couldn't believe because they're so used to the sort of confident style that he had through all those films, and
Hmm.
it was a disaster, you know. But and
He should have
he
been
saved a
like a
lot of money.
pro.
Hmm?
I said he should have seemed like a pro to the audience, but I
Yeah,
guess
I
because the
mean they did
writing was
some.
so.
Yeah, they did some trials. He did it, away from Broadway. He had tried it out in Chicago and other places, and it went quite well in Boston. Apparently, it was getting good reviews, but apparently it went wrong on the opening night, and the press killed it. It ran for three performances on Broadway, three,
Wow.
and 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 the thing with Basil, if you look at him after 1953, he sort of ages quite rapidly over the next few years, and it's just like I don't know. I think the heart went out of him a bit at that point because it was like he dreamed of having this you know leading. I think everyone said, "Yeah, it's a great idea, Sherlock Holmes on Broadway." Yes, everyone will want to come and see it. You would think because the films are still popular on TV, and didn't work. Didn't work. But that was the thing. But I find his career really interesting, Basil. You know,
Yeah, he's someone I've been trying to study more as well. So
yeah,
I really like his films. I
yeah.
like
I,
him as an
I yeah,
actor.
I like his films too. And no, he was my favorite actor as a kid.
Yeah.
Sort of 15, 16. I would obviously watched all the Sherlock Holmes, and would I loved his style. That sort of really kind of clipped sort of style. Yeah, I mean, I actually started work. I did a few sequences or a long sequence, opening sequence for the singular tale of the singular case of Basil Rathbone, as it's called. It's got
Okay.
Greg Mank. I'll send you a link if you
Yeah.
have a look.
I want to.
It's just a little bit. It's just like a short sequence, but it's sort of you you see a scene from the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and you see a few scenes from Robin Hood and the Dawn Patrol and Romeo and Juliet, and I think it pieces together quite well. But yeah, I'll do that someday.
Yeah. What do you think was probably his best non-horror role besides Sherlock Holmes?
Oh, uh, I was going to say Love from a Stranger, but that's kind of a horror role in its own way. Um, Non-horror. That's a good one. Well, I mean, Adventures of Robin Hood is wonderful. He was one of the great villains. I also think he's brilliant in the Court Jester. I mean, he's really fun in that. You know, have you seen the Court Jester?
No, that's why I'm asking this question. I know I need to go more into his filmography.
Okay,
I'm trying to find the best film to start with there.
the best film to start with. Well, the best place to start is um, David Copperfield
Okay.
because that's the film that cemented him as the villain. He is only in about he's maybe in about 15 minutes of that film. It's the big 30s one with W.C. Fields and all these people, all these stars.
Hmm.
And he is Mr. Murdstone. And he leaps off the screen in that one. I mean, he is terrifying. Just horrible. And it was the first villain he played on screen. Up to that point, he was like the kind of, just this kind of leading man, generally quite sympathetic. And this was the first time, and David Selznick sort of put him in this, and he was like typecast, and that was why he was so eager to do Sherlock Holmes because he thought it breaks the typecasting for me. Um, yeah, I also love the Dawn Patrol. I think the Dawn Patrol is a if you haven't seen the Dawn Patrol, watch it because that's a nice example, a rare example where he gets to be sympathetic and he's really good. You feel he wasn't an actor that portrayed emotion very well, but in the Dawn Patrol, it's there and it's kind of like it's simmering
I,
because
I would like to see that, yeah.
he's like sending these young pilots off to their death, almost certain death, and he despises himself, and he's trying to put a stop to it. But these are the orders, and he has to follow them. And it's and Errol Flynn is one of these pilots,
Hmm.
and at a certain point, Errol Flynn gets promoted to his job, to Basil's job, and Basil's reaction when he realizes he doesn't have to do this anymore. It's now Errol Flynn, the guy that's been constantly giving him a hard time, is now going to have to do his job, and he's just overjoyed. He's like, ah, it's priceless. It really is. And then he comes back, and Errol's all sort of feeling down in the mouth about having to do all
Yeah.
this, and Basil's sympathetic to him at this point. It's the only time they're not enemies on screen, so it's a good one. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
thoroughly
so
recommend it.
Dawn Patrol, I need to see that one then, definitely.
Mm,
You know, another actor I feel like might be, I don't think they're on the same level, but in the same level within not being as known as they should be with Todd Slaughter
mm.
is George Zuko. People know of him, but
Oh,
they
George
don't
Zuko,
know of
yeah.
him.
No, he's a wonderful actor.
And
Really wonderful actor.
barely
Yeah,
anyone ever talks about him, and I don't understand how.
yeah. See, if I was to get the go ahead to do the Horror Icons whole series, um, there was one that I wanted to do the A to Z of character actors, and George Zuko. It would be about four, across 2 hours, and George Zuko would definitely be one. Lionel Atwill would be another,
Yeah, he's
and
another.
but Zuko, yeah, no, I love Zuko. I mean, Moriarty in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, he is so good in that. His just disgust with his butler when when the plant dies. He's like, "You killed it. You killed one of my precious plants." And no, he's so good. And have you seen a film called? If you've seen the Boris Karloff documentary, I don't know if you have, but
Yeah, I own it on Blu-ray.
yeah, you do. Okay, I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were one of the people. And the film Lured, he is
No, but
very
I know Boris Karloff's in that too. I need to see that.
yeah. Boris Karloff is in it, but George Zuko is in it, and a lot. I mean, he is actually basically helping Lucille Ball on this investigation. So he plays a Scotland Yard investigator or detective, looking out for her, and he gets to be a good guy, and he's
Oh, for
funny,
once.
and
Wow.
he's funny as well. He's so good in it, and it's great. It's like we when Tracy and I watched this film about a year and a half ago, we were just like spellbound by George. It was like, wow, what a revelation! Who knew? So yeah, he's one of those actors that just he should have had more chances, but he was always good. Whatever
Oh,
he did.
yeah.
You know. So yeah, no, there's a good call there with George Lucas.
One thing I heard about him, don't know if it's a rumor or not.
Mm.
I think it was I think when he was in World War One,
Oh
he
yeah,
was stationed somewhere where he revealed himself to a younger woman.
I
I
have
don't know
not
how
heard that
true that
story.
is or not. I've heard a rumor of it. So
I haven't heard that
I
story,
don't know.
but I don't know. It could be. Who knows? That sounds more like Lionel Atwill.
It definitely
You ask
does.
me.
It definitely does.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Lionel Atwill was. It's interesting. You read occasionally, you know, interviews with people that were working with him and
Hmm.
kind of knew the side of him, and some people it was okay. It was kind of just well, it's his thing, and other people were actually, frankly disgusted. And
Yeah.
I can't remember the actress, but she just said, she was just creeped out at the idea of having to work with Lionel Atwill because she knew what was going on. And so it's interesting with him. His career was sort of well, he was derailed, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Really, once things came to light, the whole moral thing. But
But didn't
there's
he
a
come
film
back?
there, I think.
Oh, yeah, there is. He came back after being arrested, though, didn't he?
He did. He did. Well, first of all, he said that uh, he admitted to to certain things, but said, no, this isn't true, and this isn't true. And so they kind of went, okay. And he went back and he did, a dozen or so films where he was again coming back. And, he's in the
Hmm.
Sherlock Holmes, a couple of Sherlock Holmes. And then it became obvious that he'd actually lied. And that
Yeah,
was when things really went to hell. But yeah, no, he still made a few films afterwards. I mean, he was coming back a bit. I've actually I had some contact with his son, funny
really.
enough, and who was born actually after he died. So
Okay,
his newly married wife was pregnant at the time he died, and it's kind of sad that he died so young comparatively. I mean, he was
he did.
57, I think, you know. But yeah, no, he was an interesting guy, no question of that. And if you read interviews with him, he clearly relished it. He's very kinky sounding in his interviews. You know,
I don't know any interviews with him. I need to go watch them actually.
you can find some. I think Tom Weaver has a few interviews if you
Okay.
look up his writings. I'm not sure how much of it's true, but it's but all these people were being interviewed by the fan magazines in those days, and
Yeah.
but Lionel Atwill would say things like women like to be beaten, and stuff like that. And in those days you could say that. I mean, imagine saying that now.
You can't say that now, no.
It's kind of funny, isn't it? We look back on those days as being sort of very censorious, and the fact that a married couple would be in two beds, and
Hmm.
and now it's just as bad. It's in a different way, you know.
Yep.
Okay, so going back to Todd, um, yeah. So after he did the Inspector Morley series, which, as you know, didn't really take off. I mean, it's good
Yeah.
that they were made at least. Um, he was doing sort of small parts on stage. He was in a Moliere farce in a supporting role. I'm trying to remember what it was called. Can't remember offhand, but this was in about 1955, so he was still working, and you can spot him in an episode of the TV series The Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
In an episode called, have you seen it? The Talleyrand Affair.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, but I've definitely heard.
Well, let me describe. I cannot tell you how excited I was when I knew that he'd been in an episode of a TV series that still survived from
Yeah.
the mid 50s, and I thought, oh, I've got to see this, got to see this. So I got a copy of it, and I'm watching the show, and I think Nick Cravett is in it, who's Burt Lancaster's sort of um, circus sidekick in the 50s, and he's in The Flame and the Arrow. But anyway, he plays Monte Cristo's companion. And so this episode is running, and they're on the run or trying to sort some intrigue out. And about 15 minutes in, they turn up at this pub, this tavern, and they're sitting at the table and they order drinks. And out from behind the bar walks Todd Slaughter as the landlord, and he looks fine, by the way. This is 1955, but he looks very much like his old self. And and they have a bit of dialogue. They order their drinks, and he asks them a few questions. Seems a bit interested, and then sort of slopes off, sort of looking like he's about to do something sly. We cut back to them, and it's like he's going to inform. Yeah, he's going to inform. We better get out of here. And so they leave, just as the soldiers are coming in, and we never see Todd again. It's just like, that's it.
A little taste.
Yeah, just a little glimpse of him. And I think that's the kind of thing he was getting at that point, which is a bit sad. But the one thing is, he was still doing his own stuff, because that the night he died, he had a few hours earlier he had done a performance of Marie Martin.
Hmm.
So I like the idea that you know he was playing his own melodramas right up to the end. You know,
He really was, yeah.
yeah. No, I think yeah, I think he's someone that would be. I would like to see him celebrated a bit more. You know that his nephew, I think it's called Carter Slaughter. Um, my Kip filmed interviews with his nephew, about 10 or 15 years ago. And he looks incredibly like Todd Slaughter.
Really?
It's uncanny. To the face and everything, but he's like a vicar or something. And just the idea of Todd Slaughter as a vicar, it's like you're thinking, yeah, but you're going to reveal that you're breaking spines secretly or something, you know? But yeah,
Now we need to come up with a biography film, and he can be the star.
I would love to see a biography film, like a kind of, it could be quite fanciful. It doesn't have to be, you know, absolutely factual, because I think
No,
something
just
like
put the
that,
facts you know of in there.
yeah,
Then
yeah,
you have to fill in the rest.
yeah, it could be it could be presented like a melodrama, a sort of melodrama of theater. I mean, like how that film many years ago called The Dresser, which was actually based on Donald Wolfe. And it's kind of like it's basically him backstage while he's doing King Lear, and it's very funny because he's just this terrible ham actor.
Yeah.
And but something like that where it's sort of fictionalized, but it sort of shows a picture of
Hmm.
society at that time. And because I think Todd was kind of he was pushing the ticket a bit, pushing the envelope. That's what I meant in terms of the bloodletting and stuff like that on
Hmm.
stage. You know,
It it was like he was kind of like Britain's horror star
mm,
whenever they banned horror movies.
yeah,
That's kind of like horror movies they had. They were like borderline.
he was the closest. Yes, you're quite right because literally after 1936, you couldn't make a horror film in in England, but Todd got away with it because these were melodramas and they were classic melodramas, or not classic
Hmm.
but old melodramas, and so there was a sort of certain value to them. I
Yeah,
mean,
because it was an old story coming to film.
yeah, and one of the more charming ones is the fact that the Crimes of the Dark House is actually the woman in white. A
Yeah.
very kind of like kind of not a dumbed down, but a very sort of simplified version, but also totally Todd Slaughter. I mean, that opening scene, where he rams the peg
I
through the
know
guy's
it
head.
is. It's very brutal for that time period to even see that.
Yeah, the fact that it's pretty much shown and heard is something. Yeah, for 1940. Yeah,
I mean, after everything you saw on the screen, you just fill it in with your head. You know exactly what happened, and the laugh he has afterwards.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That is another of my favorites. That really is. I mean, the
And
scene and the other scene where later on, where and he has a very good supporting actor in that. Hay Petrie, who's like
hmm
this kind of mini Claude Rains, who's
yeah,
like the sort of kind of the money guy that keeps him going, and he's a very good actor, and they make a good team in that. I think you know.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good film. I wish his career had carried into the Second World War. He could have. I would have liked to have seen him appearing in some of the Gainsborough films. Those kind of melodramas, the sort of
hmm
romantic melodramas that were being made. But I don't think he was considered, classy enough or
He
whatever.
he definitely could be like a villain in one of those old Victorian stories that aren't even necessary melodrama, but like the girl kind of trapped in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
war trying to, you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I
I
mean,
don't know how to describe it, but you know what I mean.
there's a film from '47 called Uncle Silas, which is I think it's Gene Simmons, and the and it's basically this guy is this terrible, terrible sort of relative of hers that is basically trying to kill her off because she stands between him and an inheritance. And I just thought, always thought, that would have been a brilliant part for Todd
It sounds
if
like
he could
a
have just
part written for him.
if he could have just dampened it down a little and just naturalized it. But I don't think. Well, I mean, other than that Darby and Joan thing where he is underplaying, I'm not sure he would have wanted to do that sort of thing. I mean, he loved, he loved to really kind of ramp it up.
He loved to be hammy in the best way possible.
Yeah, and he's part of a tradition as well. I mean, you think of say someone like Robert Newton, who's very much in that Todd Slaughter tradition. Not all the time, because Robert Newton, you've got Long John Silver and you've got things where he's really sort of really ripe, and then you've got other things where he's subtle, and it depends what he's drinking that day, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Seeing him, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, no, go on.
Seeing him in The Crimes at the Dark House really made me want to see him in some haunted house movie where he's being tortured by an actual ghost and he goes insane.
Oh, I know, yeah, yeah, because he does quite good insane, doesn't he?
Because there is a part where I can't remember, does he think the house is actually haunted or just the people who work
He
there?
thinks he thinks the girl has come back, the woman that he sort of killed at the beginning, or
Yeah.
yeah, because he basically leaves the windows open, makes sure that she dies. I think
Hmm.
I haven't seen it in quite a few years, but yeah, he goes bonkers at the end.
Oh, the ending part of that is amazing with the flames and everything.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. No, I would have loved to have seen him, like, even you know when, like, Boris Karloff was doing sort of those British films. Some enterprising producer should have sort of put them together in something. Just
Something like you mean whenever he was doing like those corridors of blood and films like that?
That's a bit later. No, I think in the 30s, when Boris did a couple of horror films in England.
Oh yeah.
He did The Ghoul, which is
Yes.
before Todd really got into movies, but he also
Yeah.
did um, the man who the man who changed his mind,
Yes.
and the other one, Juggernaut. A Juggernaut could have had a Todd Slaughter part there, because everyone is so sort of nasty in that one,
Hmm.
and it's pretty corny as well. So I think Todd would have helped it, you know. But yeah.
I think he would have played pretty well in Poverty Row here in the US.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Um, yeah, yeah.
He would have had the lead role, and his name would have been definitely used for marquee or cachet
Oh, yeah,
purposes.
yeah, yeah. And that's the difference, you see. If he'd been in Hollywood, he would have made dozens of films rather than a dozen films, And
Yeah, most likely, yeah.
yeah, I don't know why he didn't. I think he was just someone that was. I don't think I'm not even sure if he went to America at any point.
I don't think so, but I do know that there was someone who liked his films enough to bring them into the US and kind of market it under their distribution company or something like that.
Oh yeah, because the Greed of William Hart, didn't it go out as what was the title? It was a real cheapjack title, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah,
Terror
it
Lord
has.
or something like that.
I have it uploaded on my YouTube channel and I put both names, so I just can't even think of what it is. But I know
Yeah,
what you're talking about. There's two names for it.
yeah. And the poster, I've seen the poster for it as well, which is pretty funny.
Yeah. Oh, Horror Maniacs, I think.
Horror Maniacs, yeah.
Yeah.
Which kind of, yeah, why not?
I
Because the thing
mean,
is, the Burke and Hare story meant nothing in America. You know, I mean, I don't think the fact that they changed the names as well didn't help. You know,
no. It's like
so,
you have to market it towards a different audience who wouldn't know that stuff.
really. Oh, this is interesting.
What?
Okay, I've just pulled up Amazon and Horror
Hmm.
Maniacs, and I just scrolled down, and there's a review by B. Slaughter.
Oh,
And the person says, as a descendant of the masterful Todd Slaughter, I am, of course, biased. But his acting, although hammy, is superb, and the film is a classic. That I think that would be Beatrice, possibly.
yeah. I think I've seen an interview with her, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. Cool that she reviewed her great uncle's film.
Yeah, that is cool. I think she's the one who has the makeup kit that he owns, that he had.
All right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's I don't know if you've seen this photograph of Todd made up as a clown. Have you seen
Oh,
that photograph? It's terrifying.
I would love to see that. I need to
Yeah,
see that.
Kip showed me that. It's probably in one of those books that came out, because they did that box set a few years ago. They
The
did
Todd
the
Slaughter box
box set of
set.
Todd Slaughter. Yeah,
Yeah, I have that one.
You have that, yeah. I
Hmm.
don't have it, but because I just have the videotapes of the
Yeah.
films.
Do you still have the first videotape you taped of it? Face of the window? Face of the window?
Ah, that's a really good question. I had it for a long time. It was on Betamax. I do think I transferred it, and I'll tell you something very odd that happened during it, or not during it, but at the end of it. Channel 4 were being very playful with their introductions and end pieces in those days. And at the end, it came back to the sort of person who was on screen saying, well, that was Todd Slaughter and the crimes of, and Face at the Window, and next week. And then as she was talking, her head sort of rolled to one side and just plopped out of the screen.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I was still running the tape at that point. But I honestly, I thought that's a keeper. But I don't know if I kept it this long. But
See, I want to see some of those airings of those films,
you mean the
like with
early
yeah,
screening?
with the commercials and everything. I want to see all that stuff.
Oh, I've got some. I've definitely got some. But you know, they're just put on as films. They're not. There's no particular. I mean, I think the Crimes of Stephen Hawke when I first taped it, which would have been, I'm trying to think. It's about 1987. I think they showed it. Yeah, 1987 was the first time that was shown on TV here. But those films were shown years and years ago. I mean, they were
Hmm.
showing them in the 70s and the 60s and the 50s. It's just, you know, they'd been about 10 years had elapsed before they kind of started bringing them back. And
Hmm.
so I was part of that generation that was seeing them in the 80s for the first
Yeah.
time. But I mean, I've checked the schedules, and if you go back through like the Radio Times archive, you can see screenings of it sort of way back. What I find, this is a complete change of subject, but what I find really interesting is going back to the earliest days of the listings and seeing what films were on by people like Laurel and Hardy when they were
Hmm.
still alive. And you can find stuff like in the early 50s, they're showing like Way Out West and, you know, a short with Laurel and Hardy. And you're thinking, yeah, but they're in France filming Apple K. They're still going. And it's kind of weird when you think of that, of these guys actually being on TV in a film and they're still out there performing.
Making films, yeah.
Yeah. You don't think of it too often because you think, you know,
Mm-mm.
TV came after. But
I do remember hearing something about Sweeney Todd, the one with Todd Slaughter in it, actually was one of the earliest films put onto TV.
I've heard that too. I think it was like broadcast in 1948 or something in the US, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. IMDb is quite useful that way. It gives those kind of little factoids. And well, that was the thing, you see, in the early days, TV, particularly in America, the Hollywood studios were like, no way, you're not showing any of our stuff. We hate TV. And but you know they could get these old sort of relics from England that like no one cared about. They could just put them on and people would watch because you know that was the kind of medium it was at that time. And yeah, so those films got shown and which is great because you think of all the people that were watching TV in the early days, like people like Scorsese and you know that generation. Um,
You have to think
films
how
were
many people saw it and took it as inspiration.
you have to wonder, yeah,
Yeah.
really, yeah. I mean, it's yeah, it's an interesting thought, very interesting thought. Is there anything else you want to ask? Because I'm running out of steam, like I said, all right.
Oh, yeah. There was something else, and I don't remember what it was.
I'll wait. I'll give you a few moments.
I did. This is way, way earlier, but I just wanted to tell you, just so
Oh,
you know. Remember when I told you everyone was ghosting me about my films or
yeah.
whatever? Okay, I did get a few good responses, but I did email Josh Chris, who made another found footage film back in 2012. I really like. It's my favorite one. He
Which one
did
is it?
email back. It's
Oh,
called
that's
Leaving
nice.
DC.
Say again?
It's called Leaving DC.
Oh, right. I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's really good. He
I do
actually
like
emailed
found
me
footage
back.
films.
Yeah, if you like them, you should definitely watch that one. It's
Yeah.
on Found TV. I don't know if you have well, I know you
No,
have
not that
access to it,
channel,
but
no. But it's we do get a lot of strange stuff coming on. So, have you seen a film called The Borderlands?
Yes, that one takes place in the UK, right?
Yeah, it's the three priests and they're in a
Mm-hmm.
church.
Yeah,
That's a great film. I
it,
think
it
that's
is really good, and they're kind of being swallowed whole at the end.
mm, yeah, yeah. And I mean, yeah, and, I'm a big fan of that one. And the thing is, it's the performances that really that make it you believe them. So it's
Yes, I like to be immersed in them.
yeah, yeah. Another one I like, which is so above as above, so below.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Which is yeah, I like that a lot. I always enjoy that, and I enjoy the music at the end. I actually got into the band that
Oh,
they
really?
used in that La Femme, who are a
Awesome.
really cool French band, worth checking out.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Look into that too. Now, what we need to do is somehow have
wrap
a
up.
time machine and put all these yeah, put all these people
Yeah.
from the classic horror movies into a found footage film now.
Oh, that would be something, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Todd Slaughter hamming it up in one of those. That'd be awesome.
Ah, I know. Yeah. I
Well,
think I mean the interesting thing is with AI and stuff like that is you could essentially bring those people to life
yeah,
if you had
technically,
the
yeah.
budget and the and a good idea to do it within. Um, it's really weird when they do that. Like if you saw the Hammer documentary recently, where it was in bad taste, I think, but they brought Peter Cushing to life at the end.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh right. Well, it's the Hammer documentary, and throughout there's a guy sort of putting down tarot cards, and he's like
Hmm.
hooded. And right at the end, he leans forward and pulls his hood back, and it's Peter Cushing.
Kind of like what is
And
it?
then they
Doctor Tears, House of Terrors.
yeah. Well, no, no,
Yeah.
no. He looks normal. He's not in makeup or anything.
Okay.
And it's like an AI recreation of him. I think he says something, and everybody hates it. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, his family apparently approved it. They said, okay, why not? Um,
AI is kind of a wishy-washy thing.
yeah, it never looks good. It never looks good.
Mm-mm.
Although I have to say, um, Nick Cave posted a video a few days ago because he's famously against AI.
Yeah.
But a friend of his had sent this video that he created using AI for the song of Nick Cave's called Depella, and it's Elvis Presley, and it's manipulated footage of Elvis Presley, and it's incredible. I mean, really incredible. But it's like I kind of commented. A lot of people commented and were like, some people hated it, flat out hated it, and said this is wrong. Other people were kind of like bowled over by it. I was kind of in between. I was like, yeah, this is haunting and kind of beautiful, but it just feels wrong.
Yeah.
But it is good, you know. Anyway, it's a tool. It is a tool,
It's a tool, yeah.
you know. And I mean, if you use it right, I guess it's okay. But the problem is, it's not being used right. It's being used
No,
in all sorts of bad ways, altering the.
making entire films and things like that.
Oh well, there's films, yeah, but I mean, in kind of real life,
And real life
could
things
have
too,
done
yeah.
bad things, and that's very worrying.
Trying to trick people.
Yeah, yeah. Wyatt, it's been a great pleasure talking to
Yes.
you. I'm keeping hoping you'll remember your questions.
No, I don't remember that, but it'll be okay. I might just have to email and ask you or something.
Yeah, that's
So,
fine. I can always, hey, if the question is a good one, I'll just do a quick to Zoom thing and record it
oh
after
yeah, yeah.
answering it and send it to you. You know,
Okay.
so that'll be no problem. And I'll preface it by saying, "Well, Wyatt," and you
No,
can
we'll
edit
just
it
use
really
AI.
awkwardly.
Well, do you want to plug in anything before you go?
Oh, well, let me see. When is this going out?
I don't know because I'm slow in editing. Still
Right.
trying to figure out a schedule.
Because when I did the one with the Borga Pass people, it was like it ended up going out about 3 or 4 months after we recorded it, which was great
Hmm.
because I was talking about the Vincent Price campaign in it, and I kept saying, "No, don't put it out yet, don't put it out yet."
That's how I found it, and
And in
that's
the
how I
end,
went on there.
I actually had to record extra bits for it because
Yeah.
it had gotten out of date. Because I had to put in something saying that Jim had helped on the shoot. And so, yeah, it's if you listen to it, it's funny because I talk about we're going to film this interview, and then I say, "Oh, Jim helped when we were filming this interview." And it's like, what? I didn't see that. We talk about is the fact that those add-ons are finally going to be available, and if people still want to pledge on some of the rewards
Hmm.
for the Vincent Price project, then there's only so much time left. We're probably going to shut that down, I would say, mid-September at the latest. We will do a countdown. So if people are interested, because one of the things I should say is that we're not planning to release the Vincent Price Blu-ray, DVD outside of the campaign. It's only going to be for people that have pledged.
Hmm.
So it's theirs and theirs alone.
Yeah, I can't wait for mine. I've been looking forward to it.
Well, be patient.
Oh, I'm patient. I'm patient.
But yeah, and the other thing is that we will be doing this thing where we're offering some of the other rewards a bit sooner, so that people can get them maybe in time for Halloween, and which I think would be nice.
That
So
would be awesome for
they know that
Halloween.
we haven't forgotten about them.
And like the shirt too, you said?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Shall I show it again?
Yeah, show it.
Focus this time. Let's see if it does. Right. You too can own one of these. Okay. Alrighty.
All
It's been
right.
really fun, Wyatt, and
Yeah,
I hope you got sufficient material.
it definitely.
This has been my third Zoom today.
I know you're tired.
No, I don't mind. I don't mind. I mean, it's kind of like nice to end up talking about Todd Slaughter and
Oh
other,
yeah.
because that's an easy topic,
It's
But you
just an enjoying talk.
and enjoying, yeah, talking about film stuff and horror stuff and what we love, and this is the things that keep us going. The nice thing about this is that I like about horror fans is
Hmm.
it's a real transgenerational thing. It's like that sounds like I'm saying trans. You know what I mean? I mean
Yeah, I know what you
cross
mean.
generational because it's like you get people of all different um, life periods who are really, really, really into this stuff, and it just lights them up when they start talking about it, and that's one of the things that's great about horror. And
Yeah,
also, my other thing would be that I maintain that horror is the most creative filmic genre because
it is.
it is intended to get right into you. It's intended to get right to your core, and when it works, and when you've
Hmm.
got people that are imaginative working with it, some amazing, amazing pieces of work there.
And it can be an escape away from this reality.
Mm. Oh yeah, that too. And I mean, I do think we're actually in a kind of golden age of horror. I mean, people like Jason Blum and the Blumhouse films, they're superb.
I was gonna say something about that. Now I remember.
Go on.
In some of their films, I've seen some Todd Slaughter moments.
Oh really?
Yes. In Imaginary, I can't remember the one lady who ends up being crazy near the end or whatever.
In which
It
film?
really in Imaginary. Have you seen that one?
No.
Yeah, there is. She kind of reminds me of Todd Slaughter a little bit. I don't think she's the best actress, however. I think she's doing too much. But it gives me a glimpse. I'm like, I see a little bit of Slaughter there.
Right, right.
But I would love to see people perfect his art and do it well, really.
Well, I think it's hard because he was, he's one of these people. He is inimitable, in the way certain actors are the only ones that do what they do.
It's
Um,
distinct, it's his.
yeah, yeah, and yeah. I mean, he was someone that could go over the top and yet not quite go over the top. That
Hmm.
you never had that moment of cringing at him.
No, that's
He's
exactly what I mean.
he's just there, right on the point, and you know, he makes you smile, and that's the
Yeah.
other thing that's great, you know.
Like you said, you know when to laugh, you know when not to.
Yeah, yeah, it was so refreshing to see that happen in front of this basically this audience of people that were my age at the time, like 17, 18 years of age. And you know, I think some of them kind of went, "Oh my God, this looks ancient." And then they just got into it. And it was
Hmm.
like, you know, and everyone
Once you get
was,
past that barrier, it's a whole
yeah,
world.
black and white, old, you know, 30s film. Because everything was just right. It was the tone was just perfect, you know. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm gonna bid you adieu.
Yeah, I'll
So I have
see
to
you.
send you the recording of this, don't I?
Hmm. I
Right.
think there should be what, two recordings from last time and this time.
Yeah, I've got 2 hours logged here
Yeah,
now, and there should be another one which hopefully will reveal itself when I shut this one down.
yeah.
But, all right.
All right. You have a good night.
Good night to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.